In this TapHere PinPoint tutorial video, I am going to be showing off the automatic report generation feature. So for this example, I am just going to open up an already completed project. Now this is just dummy data that was taken of a local radio station. And I actually have two radio stations here that I took dummy data of. So I'm going to now go to report, and I'll explain some of the fields here. So report styling, in here you're able to specify what information goes in the footer. This all controls the logo that's either on the top left of each page or the title page, and you can actually put your own company's logo here if you want. So you would just browse for that particular image, and then maybe a little trial and an error is required to actually get it the size right and looking good on the page. But that's rather easy, as you can keep just regenerating these reports and making sure that it looks good. Enable landscape pages is just a checkbox that determines whether or not the floor plan screenshots show up as landscape or portrait pages. I recommend them as landscape pages, as it just makes the image bigger and easier to look at. Now total pass percentage over here specifies what percentage of grid squares need to be passing overall in order for the report to pass. Similarly with critical areas, so this is saying that maybe 99% of critical areas must pass in order for the entire report to show a passing grade. And this is just checkbox whether or not you want to apply that adjacent area rule. But again, you can edit this percentage to be whatever is required by maybe the jurisdiction. Here you can enter in the survey type. I will say this is an annual survey. Maybe it's a new BDA install or something along those lines that you're testing. And below here are survey notes that you can write whatever you want, and they will show up on that title page. The site name here, you can edit it, but that's often generally set up when the project is created, so these fields aren't necessarily something you might need to change, but the option is there if they need to be edited, as well as if you need to specify the type of antenna that was used and the gain, you can do that here as well. Finally, if you want the report to go to a specific location when it's generated, you can choose that location here. Otherwise, by default, it will show up in that reports folder that was generated when the project was created. You can also save these templates just in case you want to load up these settings quickly. If you find it something that you're often coming back to, you can load and save them as templates, the report configuration from here. But let's say I'm happy with that. All I need to do is click generate reports. It will generate the reports, and if I want to actually view them, I will click yes here to open up the folder containing them. Now this had previously generated reports in them, but it timestamps them with the time at which they're generated, so this was the most recent. I will view that and we can see where these fields showed up. So the title of our survey, its type, what radio site was tested, that notes field shows up here, the date, here's the footer that we were able to specify, and again, if we changed up that logo, it would be different here and here in that header. So again, the project name, the address, technician, if we have the FCC number there, as well as this particular one passed, that was the result of this. If we didn't meet those criteria, if maybe too many grids failed, we'd see failure here and a reason beneath it. Here's some summaries of what passed, what settings we chose, how many areas were measured, how many passed, how many failed. Here we had none. How many critical areas were measured. Then we have a per floor summary. We see the high and low measurements per floor. How many areas passed over total. Now we don't have any failures here, so that's not listed. And then whether or not that floor in particular passed or not, just so we can kind of pinpoint where our problem areas might be. Now here is test equipment information. Here I was using the Sabre Micro device with a calibration date of June 8th and a Motorola antenna. So that's all there. Here I can see kind of the measurement settings that I had. So my passing threshold was -95 dBm. I was taking 10 measurements per grid square, 100 milliseconds between samples, and I'm just displaying the average of those measurements. Here's some capture information, and here we see the screenshot of my floor plan as well as more of that information. Here I see the minimum, the maximum, and the calculated RSSI, which in this case is the average here. And then similarly for the second floor, I have a screenshot of that floor plan and then all the measurements that were taken. Here, this yellow column is my critical area, which also passed in this case. And that is the report that is generated. And similarly, there's a second report generated at the time for that second frequency that I was tested. And if I had more frequencies being tested, I would have a report for each of those as well. Or if I only was testing one frequency, you'd just show one new report show up in this folder. And so let's say I delete those. Again, to regenerate those reports, it's as easy as going to this report tab and clicking generate. And I've got my reports back.